Welcome to this month's edition of What's Your Plan? Each month, we at Assisting Hands try to bring in an industry expert to talk about something that we think would be useful for lots of people who are trying to age in place successfully. So my name is Steve Lorberbaum. I'm the owner of Assisting Hands Home Care. We are a private duty home care company that services Fairfax County, Virginia, and Montgomery and PG County, Maryland. We work to put aids in people's homes, whether they need help because they're recovering from a surgery and they may only need help for a day or two, or whether they're living with a cognitive or physical disability and need help on a daily or weekly basis. But it's not about me or Assisting Hands today. Today, it's all about Lindsey and Insight Memory Care. So I'd like to take a moment to introduce her and actually have you introduce yourself, Lindsey, and tell us a little bit about you and about Insight, and then we'll get started.
Thanks so much, Steve and Patricia. So I'm Lindsey, and I am the Director of Early Stage Programs at Insight Memory Care Center. Insight is a nonprofit 501c3 organization based in Northern Virginia, and our whole mission is to serve people living with memory and cognitive impairments, their families, and the community. And we are really all about giving people the highest quality of life, helping them attain that. And so my kind of background is I've worked a lot in education around memory loss and cognitive impairment, including at Insight and at the Alzheimer's Association. I also worked in long-term care in the activities field for about 10 years. And I have a personal connection. My grandmother had vascular dementia for about the last 10 years of her life. And so I'm just really passionate about making sure that people can be all that they can be, that they can have a great life, that caregivers get the education and support that they need, that professionals get the training that they need, so that we really can be the best support to people living with memory loss. So I'm really happy to be here with you.
Excellent. Well, so first, tell us, where is Insight located, and how do people sort of find out about Insight Memory Care?
So our main center, like our brick and mortar center, is in Fairfax, Virginia, in the Fair Oaks area. So we have an adult day health program in Fairfax, an early stage program called Reconnections, and most of our administrative team is in Fairfax. But a year ago, we also opened our second brick and mortar location in Sterling, Virginia, which is Loudoun County. And that houses another early stage program, another Reconnections location. And some of our education and support services are offered there as well. But because of the pandemic, a lot of things moved into a virtual space. And so we've continued offering a lot of virtual services like caregiver support groups, education classes. We meet with families over Zoom and over the phone. And we have a lot of things that we can offer to people who aren't in our backyard here in Northern Virginia.
Gotcha. And so I heard you talk about sort of multiple different kinds of programs. I know there are a number of programs that really are only early stage. If someone needs sort of medical issues or maybe even assistance with toileting, they can't be in their program. So is that similar to you, or do you have different programs for different stages of dementia?
We have programs for every stage of the disease. So in the earlier stage, for our Reconnections program, people are very independent with mobility. Some people have something like a walker or a cane, but as long as they're independently able to move around with it, people in our early stage program don't need any assistance during the program with things like, using the bathroom or reminders for the bathroom. Don't need any help getting up, up and down from a chair. And in the early stage, someone that would be a good fit is someone who's still very socially interested, socially capable, having back and forth conversations with their peers, being able to do some reading and writing kinds of activities, and still having some level of reality orientation, knowing where they are, knowing that their family is going to come and pick them up after the program, feeling comfortable with where they are. But things will change if the person's cognitive impairment is due to something that is progressive, like Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's. And so eventually, as the person needs more help with those activities, so needing help in the bathroom and reminders, needing help with, standby assist with walking or getting out of a chair, those are some signs that maybe the early stage program isn't the best fit. But then that's where our adult day health center would come into play, or there are other adult day health centers in Northern Virginia, in Montgomery County, that people can access, where there is more nursing support, caregiver support, their recreation therapists, social workers, this kind of broader team to support that person.
Okay, so that's a service you all provide as well, but
We
just
do.
in a different group setting.
And in Fairfax, they're literally 2 buildings right across the sidewalk from each other. And so the whole team, the early stage team and the team in the day center, interact frequently. And so when someone really has kind of reached the end of their time, when Reconnections is the best fit for them and providing the best service, then we're making that kind of warm transition into the day program.
Gotcha.
And so we want people to always feel really comfortable with where they are, so that they're among their peers. They're not feeling like they're out of place, that a lot of people in the early stage are really uncomfortable being around someone who's further along in the disease process than they are. And so we want people to feel comfortable, and that the activities are that right fit. They're not so challenging that someone feels frustrated, but they're not so simple that it feels like, this is ridiculous. So making sure that people kind of stay in that right program for them.
Great. Okay. And is it a program that you come for an hour and then you go, or is it you could spend all day there?
So people spend nearly the whole day. In our early stage program, it's a 5-hour program. So there's like very specific kind of drop off and pickup times for the early stage program. And then in the adult day health center, we're open from 7:30 until 5:30, and people can come in anytime and they can leave anytime within that window. So it does provide that longer day of support. So giving a break to those family caregivers. We do have a lot of families who are working, and so they may bring their loved one here to the day program, go off to work for their 8 hours, and then come back and pick their loved one up at the end of the day. So it's that great way to ensure that someone can stay living at home, but gets more than they have within the 4 walls of their house. More social interaction, more structure, more activity, more support than they might be able to get at home.
And so how does somebody apply to the program? How does someone determine that this is right for them?
So people give us a call or they inquire on our website. We follow up. We always want to talk with the family to try to get a better understanding of what the person's abilities are, what types of support they might need, so that we do try to get them kind of directed to the right program staff. And then we always want to meet that participant too, the person with the diagnosis, so that we can also, as professionals, kind of gauge where we think the person is going to have the best experience. Because we want people to come in and love being at Insight right away and feel that they belong and feel that they're comfortable. And we don't want anyone to feel frustrated, because we also know that utilizing services is really hard for a lot of families. It's this like new level of acceptance of, we need some help here. It's difficult. How do I convince my loved one to go? How do I convince them that they need it? I mean, there's a financial consequence too, right? These services cost money. So we want people to get comfortable utilizing services that would help their families, so that they will then go out and utilize other services, not just Insight services. We want people to get help in the ways that they need that help if their goal is to stay at home.
Gotcha. And so I assume you provide meals or a meal throughout the day as needed?
We do. Our early stage programs have our meals catered from delis that are nearby. So our early stage participants, when they come in the morning, there's a menu, they make their selection of what they want that day, and we put in the order, it gets delivered. And then in our adult day health program, we are part of the congregate meal program in Fairfax County. So the county delivers the meals each day, and they are provided to anyone who lives in Fairfax County at no charge. And if it's someone outside the county who comes to our center, then they're able to either pay for that meal or to bring their own meals.
Gotcha. And do people come every day? They come one day a week? I mean, is there a kind of standard thing, or is it just kind of pick and choose what you need?
So people do enroll for specific days of the week. So it's not like a drop-in service where you just decide like, hey, I think I'm going to bring my husband by for a few hours today. There are certain days that we want to know who we're expecting that day. We want to be staffed up for that. And we also provide person-centered activities. So when our activity team, our recreation team are developing their program for the day, they're thinking specifically about who's going to be here that day and what their interests are, what their careers were like, the things they like to talk about, the kind of music they want to listen to. So people come for specific days. In our early stage program, it's a minimum of 1 day per week. So what's today? Friday. So some people are enrolled for just Fridays. They just come every Friday.
Okay.
Other people may choose to enroll for 2, 3, or 4 days per week. And actually, now that Insight has multiple locations in Northern Virginia, we do have a couple of participants who go 5 days per week because they go to our Sterling location a couple days and Fairfax a few days, or vice versa. So they're able to get 5 days of coverage. And then in our Adult Day Health Center, it's a minimum of 2 days per week. Because as the disease progresses, we realize how important it is to have something be a more regular part of the routine to try to decrease some of that anxiety. So it doesn't feel like this is something new and different every week when I come. It's something that I do regularly. So the environment is familiar, the faces are familiar, the staff really get to know that participant. And so some people come 2 days per week and some come all the way up to the full 5 in our Adult Day Health Center.
Okay, and so are people segregated by gender or by age or by interest, or is everybody all together?
They are grouped with their peers by generally cognitive ability, so like stage of the disease. So we have internally in our Adult Day Health Center, we have an assessment process that looks at cognitive abilities, looks at social abilities, looks at any physical care kinds of needs, and tries to get that person in the right fit program. And in our early stage program, it truly is for people all in the early stage of the disease. Now, one thing that is a little different about the early stage program is, to me, it's kind of like that line between a senior center and an adult day health center. So in the early stage program, it's people who might socially fit in pretty well in a senior center, very socially capable, chatting with others, interested in programs and activities, but maybe are having some difficulty with tracking time. Oh, that program starts at 10 o'clock and I have to find this room on the second floor at the end of the hallway. And now it got changed. In our early stage program, everyone is doing these activities together through the whole day, which also means that people are generally more willing to try something that might be, slightly out of their comfort zone. Maybe I'm not someone who's ever done an art project in my life, but I'm with a dozen other people who are willing to give it a shot. So I'm going to give it a try too. And we're going to laugh and we're going to have fun with it. So then the Adult Day Health Center, there is that broader team. There's nursing staff and social workers. It's a secure building, which means the doors are locked for everyone's safety. And there are a lot of people in the early stage who don't need that yet. They don't need that level of support. They don't need that secure environment. So that early stage program is that nice kind of middle ground for folks who have early stage memory loss or other cognitive changes.
Right. So you mentioned an art project. What are other kinds of programs that people might expect to have when they come to the center, either the early stage or the later stage?
We do, when we develop our itineraries for the day, our calendars, we're thinking about how we can really make the most of everyone's abilities, cognitively, socially, physically, holistically. And we want to make sure that we give lots of different kinds of opportunities. So in our early stage program, the flow of the day will be very similar from one day to another. For example, like we'll always start the day with coffee and conversation. We'll move into some cognitive activities. We'll always have exercise before lunch. But the actual content of each area will be different from day to day. So that cognitive activity, this morning we had a discussion group about a woman who recently passed away, who was Times Person of the Year a number of years ago. And it's sort of in that reminiscing the long-term memory of our participants. But on Tuesday, we talked about Martin Luther King Jr. Sometimes it's a word game, sometimes it's a discussion group, it might be trivia, there might be sort of teamwork that we're doing where people work with their partners or the other folks at their table. So we change it up day to day to keep it really interesting, but we also try to keep that familiarity within the program. And then in the day center, it's very much the same, where we're thinking of the interests of the people in the program and kind of alternating between different cognitive activities, physical activities, things that are more creative in nature. We have musicians who come in, we have art therapists, we do pet therapy, we've done science experiments, like sort of guest speakers who come in and sort of do demonstrations and talk about things. And in this sort of post-COVID type of world we're in, we've also done a lot of virtual programs with the Smithsonian institutions, with science museums, with the Spy Museum, and lots of other places to really kind of bring the world closer to our participants, help people to be engaged in lots of different areas and experience things that they may not physically be, going out to do any longer.
Gotcha. So let me give you sort of an example of and see kind of how this begins. So let's say my spouse has dementia, relatively early stage, but clear patterns of dementia. Do you all have any programs or tips or tricks to help me have the conversation appropriately with my wife, so she sees this as me not trying to get rid of her, that she's going to oppose, but something that she would want to do, and then to help me understand her behaviors and manage them and not get frustrated by the loss of my wife?
Mhm. In the early stage, I think positioning the early stage program as a sort of social brain health group. A lot of our participants will refer to it as class. I'll be here for class tomorrow, or will I see you at class tomorrow? And I think that's how a lot of people feel about the program. Like they feel like they're doing something that they're capable of, yet it stretches them. Just like when we were all in school, right? You're learning something new, but it's in a way that feels accessible, and you feel successful at it when you're able to accomplish it. So a lot of people feel like they're coming and they're exercising their brain, they're moving their body, but there's also this really great social element. I'm going to meet some new people, some really fun people. They might have really interesting careers that they like to talk about. We have things in common. We have tons of former military folks in our programs, people who work for the federal government, teachers, people who grew up in the same area. We've got a lot of New Yorkers that like to bond over that. So we help people really feel like they're included, they're welcome, they've got things in common with each other. We're really intentional about introducing people to each other and finding those common bonds. And then in the adult day program, into like the middle stage of the disease, I think the approach is a little bit different. In the middle stage, the person may have less, reality orientation, may not really, they don't recall that they have a diagnosis, they don't understand that they have a diagnosis, saying that this is going to be good for your brain may not be that same motivating factor. But in the middle stage, there might be more personal care needs. The person may start to fall more frequently. The caregiver is feeling more stressed. And so sometimes it works for families to use more of a strategy of, the doctor recommended this, or the doctor ordered this, to come here and to help you get stronger, or to come here and to make some new friends. And or sometimes, if those strategies aren't working, sometimes I've known caregivers to say, I need this. I have all these things I need to do, and I know it'd be so boring for you to sit at home by yourself, or I know you hate running around with me in the car. So I've arranged for you to come and meet these people. They're really great, and I'm going to go get all these things done. I'll pick you up in a little while, and really just trying to make it palatable. Like, what's something that would make sense to this person? And so that might be volunteering. They're coming here to volunteer. Might be coming to class. It might be coming to like a senior center. Might be coming to make friends, get stronger. Just depends on the person. And so our staff will usually work with families to try to help them develop some type of a plan of, what do we think is going to be the most successful? Okay. And a lot of times it may come to like let's try it for today. I'll be back in a few hours. Let's just give it a try, see how you feel about it. And, and then we'll decide if this is something we want to do or not.
Okay. And do you have maybe like while you're doing this program that you have a support group for the caregivers? Do you have any sort of programs just for the caregivers to help them?
We do. Because we realize in an adult day type of program that we offer, this is just for 5 hours or 8 or 9 hours for someone. The person is home with their family or with other caregivers for the whole evening and for the weekend and for the holidays. And so an important piece of helping people to stay at home is to make sure those caregivers have the education, the support, and the resources to be able to manage well at home and to have the best quality of life for their loved one, but also that their own health doesn't suffer, physically or emotionally. So we do have a lot of caregiver classes, some that are virtual, some that are in one of our locations. We do a lot of community education. So we go out to faith communities and senior centers and assisted livings and kind of any place that someone wants to have us to come out and speak. We also have a whole menu of different support groups. And one thing that's a bit unique about Insight is we have a lot of very kind of niche support groups. So rather than just kind of a general caregiver support group, we have a Lewy body dementia caregiver support group, or we have an MCI care partner support group. We are starting this month an LGBTQ plus care partner support group. And among a variety of others. And so it helps these care partners really get connected to other caregivers who have something very specific in common with each other. We have an early stage care partner support group. So many of our people who come to the Reconnections program, their loved ones, their spouses, their adult children are going to that early stage care partner support group on Zoom while their loved one is here at the program. And so we do want people to feel really connected to others who have something in common with them. So they can be the most, successful emotional support to each other. They provide a lot of recommendations to each other. They do a lot of brainstorming with each other. And also just that feeling of, I'm not the only person who's going through this. I'm not alone in this. I might feel like I can't talk to my friends about it. I might feel like I don't want to burden my children by telling them about what's happening, but I can be open and honest here and know that I'm not being judged.
Gotcha. All right. So, it sounds like a wide variety of programs and things that are available. How do people pay for this?
So some of our programs are free of charge. All of our caregiver support groups are free of charge. Most of our caregiver classes are. Our consultations are all free. Memory cafes, memory screenings, lots of things that we do as a nonprofit organization free of charge because of donations, because of grant funding, foundations who provide us gifts and things like that. But some of our programs like the Adult Day Health Center and the Reconnections program that are these ongoing in-person kinds of programs, those have fees, and most people pay for them privately. If someone has a long-term care insurance policy, that will always apply in our Adult Day Health Center, and depending on the policy, it may be applicable in our early stage program as well. We do have a financial assistance fund, so if there's someone who really needs these services but can't afford them or can't afford the full fees, they can apply to our financial assistance fund to get some help, because we want to make sure that whoever needs these services can access them.
All right. So you mentioned that you have a lot of veterans.
Yes.
Does the VA cover any of this? So I know in home care, we have a number of VA clients, and the VA pays us to come into a home for 4 or 5 hours, in a block of time to provide support. Is there something as well that would help supplement the Insight programs through the VA?
In the early stage program, the VA doesn't cover anything. I know that was something that our day center team was exploring, how people could utilize those benefits in our Adult Day Health Center, but I'm not sure myself how that ever came out. But if anyone is interested, please do contact us, and I'm happy to get you connected to someone who can help you with that.
Gotcha. All right, excellent. And
sometimes people ask if Medicare or Medicaid or health insurance covers these types of services, and the answer is no, that they don't, unfortunately.
What about if short-term disability or long-term disability policies? I know we've had a couple of people who were working and they became disabled while they were at work because of either a physical or cognitive impairment, and they may have been able to get some level of contribution through their disability policy. Is that something you've ever heard of?
I'm not sure. I stay out of the money as much as I can. We have people who handle that. But we do want to make sure people get the services that they need. And we know that financial constraints are, that's the biggest barrier for a lot of families. So a lot of times, even if someone doesn't pay Insight directly for our service, like let's say the VA or long-term care insurance policy or disability, families will often pay us, and we will provide whatever documentation that the family needs to then get reimbursed by that other payer. So it might be attendance records, it might be a copy of the care plan, it might be a description of the program. So whatever documentation we need to provide, we want people to utilize all of their resources to be able to get services.
And do you all have any transportation programs where people have to arrange transport to and from on their own?
So we partner with a lot of other organizations for transportation. We don't have our own fleet of buses, but we help connect people to Fast Tran, which is in Fairfax. It's a bus service that the paratransit that the county runs. Metro Access, which goes anywhere in the metro area. We utilize in the early stage program some of the volunteer ride services. There's an organization called nvrides.org, and they help connect some of these like villages and shepherd centers and other people who have volunteer transportation. And in the early stage programs, some people use Ubers and taxis to come and go from the program.
Right.
But into the day center, it's more Fast Tran, Metro Access, and then sometimes non-medical transportation, or people have like a home care aide who comes in the morning, helps their loved one get ready in the morning, get showered, get breakfast, get out the door, brings them to Insight at the end of their shift with that family, or it comes back at the end of the day, picks them up at Insight, takes them home, does that whole dinner, get ready for bed kind of routine. And I will say having in-home care is a real key part of aging in place. So as important as I think these adult day types of programs are, where people get out of the house and they see other people and they have structure and routine, there's still those evenings to consider and the weekends. And that's a heavy load for family caregivers. So especially as more of those physical needs start to increase, that needing help with the bathroom, needing help with getting out of bed, that is a time when definitely having some professional support at home is really key to making this sustainable, to achieving this goal of staying at home.
Gotcha. Okay, so I want to open it up if anybody's got any questions. I know we've got a couple of minutes, so I'm always mindful of people's time. Does anybody have a question that we didn't answer? Because otherwise I'll keep asking them. But I don't want to be exclusive.
So I see in the chat there's a couple of questions.
Yeah, I asked all those.
Okay, you got them.
That's
Great.
my job, to monitor the chat. Patricia prompts me by putting words in, and it's kind of like a teleprompter. She tells me what to do, and I do it. And,
Perfect. You're a great
well
team.
trained.
Well, it's just like it's my work wife situation. So she tells me what to do, I do it. It's great.
So can I ask a quick question? Are you familiar with any of the villages in your area in terms of, community support? Do you get volunteers from there, rides? Is there anything connecting there?
Yes, so each village is a little bit different about like the types of services they offer. Some offer, tons of services, visits at home, home repair help, rides, calls, check-ins every day. Other villages might do more of, they might do some rides to things like medical appointments or groceries, but may not have a lot of other services. So one of the things that Insight does is we offer something called the SHARE program to people who are in that earlier stage, maybe recently diagnosed, and their family, to help them make a plan for the future. So what are your values? What are your preferences? What are your goals? And then how can we utilize either the network of family and friends and or community service providers to make sure that you can meet those goals? So a lot of times it is transportation. How am I going to get to the doctors? How am I going to get to programs like coming to Insight? How am I going to go see, my grandkids? And so finding different options for families to do that, which oftentimes does mean working with the village in their area. So we do a lot of giving information and referrals to families. So finding a little bit more about their situation, where they live, what they need, and then making some recommendations on different organizations who might be able to help them, as well as making that personal introduction, so that we have this sort of trusted network of people that we know provide good services, and we want to get families connected to people who we know are going to help them.
So one last question for you. Yeah, obviously people can go out to the Insight website, but how do people call you? Who do they call? How do they get started? They want information. They want to know. They're not like me. I hate finding things out on the internet. I want to talk to a human being. Who do we do it? How do we get that happening?
Insight's main phone number is 703-204-4664. And my phone number is there on the screen. So my direct line, if you want to reach me specifically, especially related to anything in the early stage of the disease, my direct line is 270-0043. And you can always call us with whatever questions you have. If you just start sharing, a little bit of your situation with our receptionist, she will know who to direct you to. And we're always happy to talk with you. So we offer free consultations, whether or not you live in Northern Virginia, whether or not you enroll in any of our programs. That is not the goal. It is to provide some help. So
Great.
over the phone, over Zoom, come into our office, whatever works best for you. We are always happy to talk with you.
Great. Well, this has been fabulous. I want to thank you, Lindsey, for joining us today. This was super helpful. And I know Insight, well, it's a tremendous program and truly helps a lot of people, makes a difference in people's lives, which is really what we're about here, is trying to provide information and tools to help the journey that people suffer with dementia a bit easier. So thank you today for joining. And this is this month's edition of What's Your Plan with Assisting Hands Home Care. So thank you all for joining us today as well.